Hello everybody, my name is Helper Wesley. I'm the creator of Asteroid Dig, Atomic Trail, and recently In and Out Night Burglar, a game jam game made in 7 days. It received 41st place overall and 20th place in the fun category out of 468 games. This devlog, however, is about Asteroid Dig, or at least the repolishing of Asteroid Dig. It was my first ever released game, and it wasn't nearly as good as it could have been, but probably as good as I could have made it at the time. The reason I'm making these devlogs is for 3 reasons. Firstly, as a personal catalog for myself to see how things have changed over time. Secondly, for feedback. I'd like to hear what people have to say about the game and things that can be changed and modified and updated and so on. And thirdly, because doing game dev alone is really depressing. Being by yourself in a little room with nobody else really understanding what you're doing and everybody looking at you like you're a little bit strange, that sucks. So I'm sort of doing this as a way to reach out to people who have a similar opinion to myself. If that's you, then welcome aboard. Let's jump right into the devlog. I'm going to start by saying thank you to everybody who gave me feedback on the previous devlog, the art. I did some really stupid things in that devlog. Things like talking about how the majority of pixel art is lit top down. And then while I was saying that, literally in the video while I was saying it, the ship that I had drawn had its light source directly facing it, which was just a stupid oversight. So thank you to the people who pointed that out, and thank you to everybody who gave me advice on hue shifting and creating a color palette and things like that. And I will be going back and editing all the artwork that does need to be fixed again and hopefully making a better product. Today, however, we're going into the mechanics section of the rework, and we'll go back to art later. And we'll probably go back to mechanics later when we figure out more things and people give us more feedback. This time around, we're going into fixing some of the controls, adding mobile controls, tweaking the gravity and how fast the character moves to compensate for the new way of movement. And yeah, we'll go in from there. You may notice if you look on screen, you're not seeing code right now. And that's because I use a program called Gdevelop as my game development engine. It helps me get past the whole coding thing and just make games, because that's what I want to do. I want to make games. I don't want to learn how to code. Maybe one day I will learn how to code if Gdevelop ever fails me in some way, but so far it's done everything I've needed it to. So like I've said before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the first thing I wanted to fix was the control system. I was slammed on all accounts for holding a direction and then pressing space to dig, rather than just holding the direction and digging. So that was the first thing I fixed, which was a very quick fix, especially on Gdevelop. It was literally just taking out the fact that I needed to press space to dig on each of the events. So the way it works in the game is that there's a node on the right, bottom, and left side of my character, and when those collide with something, while I'm holding the direction button and then press space, it gets digged out. So all I did was take out that requirement to press space, so while you're holding the direction, you just dig in that direction now. Which worked perfectly. It was wonderful. Next, I got rid of the pressing shift to jump, because again, people got mad at that because I thought it felt really natural to me, but apparently it's not. So that got canned, and now I'm using W. So now it's literally the entire game in the game section can be controlled with just WASD. And that's it. It's done. Simple. However, because the new control system moved a lot faster and you dug through things quicker and required less motion, less reaching with your fingers, it was much quicker to do everything. I had to slow down the character, slow down gravity, and especially for the mobile controls, which I feel like are going to be a little slower to react than WASD and mouse and keyboard controls, I needed to slow everything down so the player could enjoyably control the character rather than frantically trying to keep up. So I changed the character's, the gravity affecting the character's jump height, the character's movement speed maximum, and went from there. It was a little bit of tweaking around. I had to go back in a couple times to make sure I got it right and make sure it felt the way I wanted it to feel. I didn't want it too slow because that's just not fun. but also I didn't want it to be so fast that it was frantic and hard to keep track of. That was more or less done by trial and error. I probably could have looked up the speeds online to see what people prefer or people usually do as the common practice for, the industry. But that's not how I do things. So trial and error is how it went. The next thing, and the thing that's going to take up the bulk of this devlog, were the mobile controls. They were a lot harder than I thought they would be. I genuinely just thought I was going to slap buttons up on the screen. You press the button, your character moves in that direction. Bam, done. I can chip it. That didn't work. It did work, but I use my wife and friends who don't play video games to playtest my games to tell me when things are just stupid. And my wife sat down and played it for a couple seconds and immediately got mad at the game. Again, great for a cute, relaxing game about digging things up, people getting frustrated at it. But it was a good learning experience watching her play because I got to see the things she was doing. And for me, as a gamer, I see buttons on a screen, I press the buttons. Her, as a non-gamer, she just saw a character and she wanted to dig in a direction, so she'd press the side of the character and try to get them to move that way. Like she'd drag and pull the character in a direction, or she'd click on the block next to the character to get the character to move to it. And that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't see that as the thing to do in the first place. I just saw buttons because I'm a gamer and I use controllers, and that's just the way I thought things should work. But that's not how they should work on a mobile. Mobile is a beast of its own and really should be treated differently. So I moved on to this. It's same idea, it's same 4 buttons, but instead of being on the screen things that you press and you have to press those specifically to get your character to move, now they take up 4 quadrants of the screen, above, to the right and left, and the bottom. So if you click anywhere on the screen, above or to the side or below the character, he'll move in that direction, either jumping or digging. And this felt a lot more intuitive, and also those big clunky UI buttons, they're gone, which is wonderful considering how little space you have on your mobile device to just see the screen in the first place. So them being gone was wonderful. The tricky part came in when I wanted to use the consumable items in the game, like the drop drill and the warp and all those sorts of things, because I wanted you to be able to press down elsewhere, slide across these buttons, and not accidentally trigger them, but also be able to click the buttons to have the thing happen, but also be able to click the button and have your character not jump, which is interesting because it's a button on top of a button, and I had to make it so that you didn't click the button and then click both buttons at the same time, even though you're technically clicking both buttons at the same time. So that was fun and difficult. I had set it up so that when you start a new touch on the consumable button, it wasn't supposed to be able to trigger the touch movement controls. So it would do that one touch, and that touch wouldn't register for the movement controls, and then you could use a consumable, take your finger off, and then press again somewhere to use your controls again. But that didn't work no matter how many times I tried. And what it came down to after troubleshooting with a couple of people who were on the Gdevelop Discord is that we discovered that I had created this virtual mouse. So there's a little object that follows your finger along the screen. You can't see it, but it's there. And that thing moved after the actions were taken. So the problem was that my mouse was clicking and then moving, rather than moving to what I wanted it to do and then clicking. Which is just so stupid and simple that it just... God. I spent an entire morning just frustrated and screaming at my screen and not understanding what was wrong. And just like every other problem I've ever had making a game, it's always something stupid. It's never something big and complicated. It's always something stupid. Back when I tried coding, it was a typo somewhere. It was missing a comma or a bracket. It's always something stupid, okay? Since this game is going to be a mobile release, primarily, I figured I would work on the mobile build of it first, which means we're leaving the mechanical issues right now. We'll get back to it later, but we're leaving those mechanical issues and moving into usability. to make it more accessible for mobile devices, which is going to be tweaking the size of UI, tweaking the text, tweaking the font and the artwork, and adding a mobile-friendly pause and menu system. And before I go, I want to go back to the art again and tell you thank you again. I am looking into it. I will definitely redo the artwork that needs to be redone and fix things like the ore in the store page, the ship being lit wrong, and things like that. So thank you again for that. I really appreciate the feedback, and I will be getting back to it. I just want to plow ahead with certain things so that there's progress being made rather than just fixing the art over and over and over again. And that's it for this devlog. I hope you come along with me for this little adventure of polishing up this older game to make it into a commercial release. And I hope it helps you learn how to get there yourself, how to take your game from an unfinished state to a polished commercial release. If you enjoy this devlog and want to catch up with me, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that YouTube stuff, but you can also join my Discord, which is in the description below, and say hi to me. And if you choose to do that, then I'll see you there.